Moses Itauma, is he the guy right now at heavyweight division? Because heavyweight seems to be having a resurgence, it seems like. And is Moses the young guy that everybody thinks he is at 21 years old and going to take over the entire world of boxing?
No.
Okay.
I'm not. I mean, I've done a podcast about this. I'm not saying that he's because what we saw. Let me add some caveats. So clear some space. I'm going to caveat all over you here. So the thing is that caveat crazy. I think that Frank Warren wanted Jermaine Franklin there because he said, "I like to see him knocking people out, but really, I want to see someone who'll take him a bit deeper." Now, and get some rounds in, all of that. And Franklin did that. I thought that Itauma, had a great showing because I thought he showed good movement. I thought he showed patience and shot selection, and then that sickening KO. But I think he's, for those people saying, okay, he should face either the winner of Dubois and Wardley or Alexander Usyk, please call your jets. Not that I don't think he's got the quality. I think he needs to have a good time for a little bit longer with people like David Adelaide, perhaps, or maybe he can just look at some of those Brit heavyweights, maybe get a couple of those before he really... Because if he goes for Wardley, for instance, and I think Wardley beats him even now, I think that's the end of that push, and he's got to build again. And I think he should just have a bit more time to enjoy that time as the cool boxing killer.
Is this the problem, though, that Frank Warren has with Queensberry, is the fact that he has pretty much a lock on 6 of the top 10 heavyweights in boxing right now? Like, if you look at, like, I'm not talking about like the WBO rankings or the IBF rankings, the individual rankings. I'm talking about like the Ring Magazine rankings and the TBAB rankings and stuff like that, where 6 of the top 10 are all Queensberry guys. Is this a problem? Because I think, didn't Fabio Wardley say he's like, I'm not fighting Moses?
Yeah. He said, well, he's now said the only reason I would do that is to find out who's mandatory for Usyk. But I mean, they fight in the same gym as well.
Yeah, the same trainer.
Yeah. So, it's difficult, isn't it? It's like a sort of Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis situation. He's my brother, but I'll whoop his ass for money. Maybe that kind of thing is going to have to come into play, isn't it? Yeah, Frank's got a lock on this, and that's one of the reasons why he can say the live gate will always be there, and I'm all right, because actually he does have all of those heavyweights.
Here's the thing that I've always had a problem with that, though, Steve, is that, like, it's very easy to say, yeah, I'd beat his ass for money and stuff like that, but am I really getting that desperate fighter? Am I really getting that hungry fighter in there? I have a lot of friends that I spar with. I have a lot of friends that I roll with. I have a lot of friends that I do professional wrestling with. And on any given day, we can go in there and literally quote, air finger it up and beat the shit out of one another. But are we really? Because we're laying it in heavy is a completely different thing than I have a need for this. And at the end of the day, if my boy comes to me and say, yo, how about we just make the bank on this? And both of us come across later on and we're able to fight afterwards.
I'm not sure that, I mean, you know how I feel about Fabio Wardley, and the way he burnishes that belt. And sure. I don't think he would do that. But I don't think we know what kind of fighter Moses Itauma is yet. We're close to it. But I don't think, I mean, he still has to have that moment where I was saying that, Frank is trying to produce someone who can take him into the deep waters. And Franklin said he would, and I doubted it, and he didn't. But he does need to have that moment where he thinks, oh, shit, I could lose this. Or I've been tagged and my legs are a bit rubbery. I've got to bite down on my gum shield and make sure that I reach the end of this round. We haven't seen that yet, but I don't know whether we need to. But Wardley is that kind of fighter who's done all that. Blue collar, come back from, built himself up, beat Joseph Parker, when people thought he wasn't going to, including me. And he has all those attributes, doesn't he? So he's been with his back against the wall, whereas Itauma still hasn't.
And Moses kind of called out Hrgovic after his fight, and that fight just isn't available to him right now.
No.
And if you think about him having to move up in the ranks, there isn't anywhere else left for Moses Itauma to go other than to fight Fabio Wardley. I mean, right now, Ring Magazine has him ranked at number 7. So are you going to give him – here's the guys above him, Steve. Number 6, Martin Bakole. I could see that. Martin's a little long in the tooth. You know what I mean? Definitely a little slower. Gives you a chance to move up in the rankings. Also, not a Queensbury guy. So I could see something like that maybe transpiring and still being able to have some selling factor to it. Above that, a 288-pound Zhilei Zhang. I mean, he's a little long in the tooth as well, and it kind of takes that spot, right? But that's a big challenge because Zhang has a big hand, and you get hit with that. That's a different ball game. So maybe that's something, but I don't think that there's enough there to sell. Hrgovic comes in at number 4. Daniel Dubois is number 3, and we know that that's not happening because unless maybe that's the thing. Caballel number 2, Wardley number 1, Usyk is the current champion for Ring Magazine, the undisputed pound for pound. He's the guy. So let's say Wardley Dubois happens. I mean, it is going to happen. And let's say Daniel Dubois wins. Then I think you see Moses jump into that position. I think you definitely see Moses jump into that position. What do you think?
You do. If he wins, then Moses is the. See, I do think that Wardley's too much for Moses Itauma right now. Actually, I think he probably is because he's got that self-belief as well. I'm not saying Moses doesn't have, but I think what you do is you give him Bakole. You absolutely give him Bakole as your next fight, and then I'm expecting that Dubois will not beat Wardley, and I'm suspecting you give him Dubois, and he knocks Dubois out, I think, and then you give him a title shot. I think that's his trajectory. I think he does for Bakole, and I think he does for Dubois. So either way, I think you're right. If Dubois, by some extraordinary situation, beats Wardley, I'm not expecting him to, but if he does, yeah, Moses Itauma immediately says, "I want you, son," and probably has a damn good tussle for that belt.
So let's say Wardley beats Dubois. Then what do you do with Moses?
Well, you give him Dubois, and so you give him Bakole, Dubois, Wardley.
Interesting. Or does the whole thing, let's say, for some strange reason, Steve, this whole thing with Wardley doesn't match out. Let's say that Wardley wins and they can't put a fight together because Wardley's not going to do it. And then Moses Itauma is stuck in this stagnant state waiting to move up. What seems to be the option for fighters that are in this stagnant state with these sanctioning bodies waiting to move up?
Well,
there's definitely a fight with F.A. Ajagba over on the other side of the train tracks that could be very interesting for Moses Itauma. There's some fights out there with Richard Riakporhe that could be very interesting. There's a new kid that just is coming up, Taramana, that could be very interesting. Like I'm saying, there's a lot more heavyweights out there than just running down the pipe of these sanctioning bodies right now. And Moses being only 21 years old, this could be a reality. Frank Warren's not going to be around forever. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Queensbury once Frank isn't around. So where are these heavyweights going to go?
Yeah. And it's part of that. The febrile nature of boxing commentary and boxing news and podcasting and all of that is he's ready for a title. He doesn't need that right now. He doesn't need that. He can go on a tear and on a tour and stiffen all of those guys including Terra Moana. I think, I think he can go on a tear with that, and that will make him, I am the uncrowned champion. See, that's tasty, and that can be sold. Most of the time, a champion in waiting, they won't let me fight them because I'm too good. By then, of course, Usyk will have gone, though, because there's no way. Itauma is not in his 3 people pick, and he wouldn't pick him because Itauma's too dangerous.
Right.
So yeah, he needs these 3 people to burnish his legacy. If any of those beat him, that's troublesome for Usyk. So he won't pick Itauma, and he hasn't done. But I think that I don't know who'll be left after that. But Itauma might find, although it could be Wardley, it could pick all the belts up. You could be right, and then it could be Wardley won't let me fight. But look, I've beat everybody, and I'll continue to beat everybody. That is good for the business of boxing. It's dead tasty.